Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us once again. Today is August 29th, 2020. I would like to welcome you to another free session, free learning session. If you can hear me, I want to be sure, because where I am, once again, it is raining heavily. If you can hear me, just signify so that we can go on. While we wait for many more people to come in. We just have 31 people here now. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So once again, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, from wherever you may be joining us from. We thank you once again for sparing your time to come and learn with us. Today's session shall be about 60 minutes, plus and minus 10-20 minutes. And the presenter for today is one of us, a very highly skilled engineer and operations manager, very talented, very experienced. His name is Jaji Abdul Wahab. He's the operations and innovations manager of our company. He can be reached via all these addresses here: email, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And his phone number is also here. This number is also available on WhatsApp. Jaji has had a very glorious career, almost 20 years in the field. For many years, he was production manager. He was also plant manager in CC Hellenic before he left to the UK to further his studies in operations management. He has varied experiences across services sector, manufacturing sector, humanitarian sector. Is the last place where he expressed himself. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any more time, I would like to hand over the controls to Jaji to start his presentation for today. Jaji, if you are there, can you please signify and you take over controls?
All right, good afternoon, Malam. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jaji Abdul Wahab. I'm very happy to be here today. Today's topic will be about time management, the hidden mix in the success cycle. Can you see my slides, sir?
Yes, I can. All right. Thank you.
Okay. It's an honor to be here with you guys. Okay, I'm having some technical problems flipping my slides. Okay. So first, what is time management? Well, before we move on to that, we have so much that we'll be unpacking today. And after this webinar, you'll understand. This webinar will help you understand how time management is a key attribute in achieving your goals and overall success. First, what is time management? Well, to some, is an art. Time management is an art, like art of arranging, organizing, and budgeting time for purpose of accomplishing something within a time frame. You know, sometimes we wake up in the morning without a specific plan, and often, you know, that often results in lack of productivity. And just because we have not created an action plan on how we are going to spend our day or what we are going to do with our time, we end up not achieving as much as we should or as much as we have potentials to. Second, some say time management is having control over the amount of time spent on an activity. Of course, I've always been an advocate of planning. I've learned over the years that no matter the task, no matter how small the task you need to execute is, you must have a pre-plan. You must have a set out plan on how you want to execute such activity or task. In fact, what I do is before I start any task, I already imagine at the back of my thoughts that, okay, this is what I want the outcome to be. I'll share an example too. Let me digress a little to visualization. I'll share an example with you. A recent study I saw on YouTube, a group of people, they were asked to stretch their right arms and swing it as far as they could. You know, they all did. So the moderator now asked them to drop their arms, close their eyes, and imagine that they swung their arms. Now, when they opened their eyes, he asked them to swing their hands again. The result was astounding because at the second time, when all of them swung their hands, they swung as far as they did at the first time. So what am I trying to say? To manage your time, to have control over the amount of time that you spend on any activity, you must plan. And you must also be able to visualize the end result. Hence, time management helps you to be more organized and more productive. Now, the success cycle that we have been seeing, the success cycle. You know, for most of us humans, the reason we do not, our potential, we have huge potentials, yeah? And the reason why most of us do not reach our potentials because we do not take action. Yes, that's it. Most of us never take action day in, day out. We have these great potentials in us because every human being is built with such a marvelous potentials, but we do not take actions to reach that potential. And for us to accomplish any form of success, just like I said earlier, we have to visualize it. You have to paint a mental picture of what you want to achieve and what that success will look like. Let's take a look at some element of, you know, the success cycle. But for those of us who are advocates of continuous improvement and who are, you know, merchants of continuous improvement, when you take a look at the chart, the success cycle, what does it remind you of? You guessed it. The Pdca cycle. That's the plan, the do, the check, and act cycle. You know, for the plan, it basically refers to establishing a target for improvement and devising a plan to achieve that target. Second, do, you implement that plan. Thirdly is to determine whether the implementation remains on track and has brought about the planned improvements you envisage or you envision. 4, performing and standardizing the new procedures to prevent the recurrence of the original problem. Now, the Pdca cycle, if you look at this success cycle, is almost, if not similar, to with each other. So you can see the revolvement, and the Pdca cycle revolves continuously around the same success cycle. Because no sooner in an improvement, if an improvement is made, than the resulting status quo, the resulting status quo becomes the target for further improvement. And that's what the Pdca does basically. And back to the success cycle. First, you know where you are. Okay, where am I today? I'm here now. This is what I want to do. Now, know where you want to get to. You visualize where you want to go. Okay, I want to pass my I want to accomplish my CMRP certifications before December. I want to buy a car. I want to enroll in some, capacity development program. Then you couple the plans to get a plan together. Basically, what coupling a plan together means, like, how you want to get there, what you need to do, what resources do you have, what resources do you need to get to where you want to get to. Then you move into action. Okay, you cobble a plan, sorry about that. You cobble a plan together, you list the resources you need to execute the plan. What could be, you envision what could be your challenge, then you move into action. Then next, you notice the result, you observe it. Am I moving forward? Am I progressing? Okay, you know, you assess yourself. Then you reflect on the change and plan as necessary. Then you repeat. So this is the basic element of the success cycle. And within this success cycle, everything revolves about what? Time. How well you manage your time, how you take your time seriously, how you factor in your time management. You can see that in the whole cycle, there's nowhere they wrote or there's an indication of time. So, and without the right factoring in the right timing, most of these elements cannot be accomplished. Now, still on time management, importance of time management. One, management. It helps us manage our time efficiently. For us to have the capacity to manage time, to be cognizant of time management, it makes us more efficient and it helps us manage our time more efficiently. It helps us in work-life balances. For those of us that have been on the field all these years, we have often battled with the work-life balance, because most of the posts that have been taken in the past, most especially for field workers, and I'm also saying this from experience, has always been work-life balance. Our work takes so much from us that we have no time for other activities in our lives. And you know, as we progress, as we grow older and move ahead in life, this affects us. It affects our relationships. It affects our health. It affects our families. So by knowing the importance of time management, it also helps us have time for ourselves, be relaxed and less stressed. It also aids our personal organization and efficiency. It helps us achieve personal organization, you know, be self-disciplined, because once you are aware of your time and how precious your time is, you become efficient and self-disciplined. That means whatever you say you're going to do at a specific time, you do it. You're not going to entertain anyone or anything that's going to take away part of your time. Here are the list of some time wasters. You know, recent study shows that an average of 2.5 hours spent accessing social media, and this is about 30% of daily paid time of 8 hours. We all cannot ignore the menace, like I would say, of social media in our lives, and this is one of the heavy eaters that takes away most of our time, that it even encroaches into our work time. And you know, our work time belongs to our employers. But for personal organization, we must learn to control and also to minimize the amount of time we spend on social media, because the amount of time we spend on social media directly affects our productivity, both at home and at work. And when you relate it to achieving one's personal goal, that is about 2.5 hours daily. You move 2.5 hours daily away from achieving your personal goals every day. So when you multiply that by a week, by a month, and by a year, you know how much you lose on daily basis to social media. Social media can be a good tool and it's also a bad tool. For me, how I use social media, which I'll still be talking about later in this webinar, is I for engineers, what I do is, okay, for instance, on Instagram, my two interests on Instagram, if I'm on Instagram, my two interests are engineering, civil, mechanical, and electrical engineering, and art. So most of the time, I make sure that whatever I'm doing on social media, I'm gaining knowledge. So if you follow most of these pages and handles that are related with your occupation or your interest, you might not be spending so much time wasting because you're also gaining knowledge. Like most of the engineering sites I go, sometimes they throw around trivias where you answer questions. It helps me boost my knowledge sometimes. And for the art, it helps me. It gives me inspiration to perform, to provide arts and do all sort of things. Another time waster to time management is micromanagement of every task. We'll be looking at that also later. Micromanagement of every task is when you want to be involved in every aspect, even tasks or activities that you can delegate. Casual office conversation is also a time waster. Inability to refuse others when it means adding to your workload. That is telling people to say no. You are the jack of all trades. You know everything. You want to take part in everybody's task. Everyone else comes to you to deliver for them, and where it's affecting your own productivity and your own job. Numerous personal calls and texts and emails also. You see, all these things can be controlled. And even with technology, there are applications that we can use to control all these things. Conflict in priorities, where you don't know how to prioritize your activities or your task. You can't differentiate from which one is important and which one is not. That's an example of conflict of priorities. Meetings, which we will also be touching later in the webinar, which are too many. Of course, as managers, some of us, part of our role is to meet, plan every day. But when meetings becomes too much, and meetings without agenda, no timeline, sometimes I remember back in the day, we used to have all this, you could be on the line and we used to have all these emergency meetings, impromptu meetings that, oh, you have to come to the office. This man wants to talk to you. That person wants to talk to you. This takes a lot and, drenches away most of your energy and your productive time. Procrastination is also a time waster. Of course, I will be talking about procrastination at large later and whatnot. Now, like I said earlier, planning is a key managerial function, and research shows that less than 5% of management time goes on planning, simply because of lack of priority. Pareto Principles, just like our last webinar, Pareto Principle is applicable all through human endeavors. Pareto Principle means 20% of your time will produce 80% of your productive output, which means for every vital task that you involve your time with, you put your output, every value adding task, we use 20% of your time, we produce 80% of results. This is proven. On the other hand, other non-important or less important time, other trivial tasks that you do that are not value added, 80% of your time will only produce 20% of your result. There's a law, Parkinson's law, that says work expands to fill the time available for it. So you have to wear. Now, this is another method of planning your time, of prioritizing your time. This is known as the priority matrix or the Eisenhower matrix. Eisenhower was a United States president back in the day, and he grouped all his tasks and his activity into 4. Now, the ones on each axis, the origin of the axis, you have the low, and the y and the x-axis, you have high, high. So for activities that are urgent, you give it priority 1, and very important, you give it priority 1. For me, what I do is I put P1. For activities that are urgent but not urgent but important, you put it in priority 2. So that means for those activities, you can delegate. For the priority 1, you do them immediately. For activities that are urgent and not important, you perform them, you schedule them. And for activities that are not urgent and not important, you schedule them or you perform them later. However, there's a limitation to this matrix because it only factors in the use of 2 elements, which are urgency and importance. Although importance and urgency are critical factors, but if we are trying to maximize our time and make quality decisions, there are other factors that we must consider, such as efforts that you need to put into the task, the available resources, the ones that are available to you to perform the task, and the complexity of the task. So when you put all this together, you put all these factors into consideration, it would help you perform better and it will help you make better decisions. However, it is not advised that you move around with a priority matrix. What I do is every day I jot down my to-do list. So I know that P1 is for important and urgent tasks and or activities. P2 is for not urgent but important. So if I need to hold a meeting, I put P1. If I need to do a Gemba walk or I need to walk around the factory, I put P2 just in front. You just have a little jotter because as professionals, we must always move around with our pens and our jotters in our pocket. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, Mal. So next is time management. We're now talking about efficiency versus effectiveness. What is efficiency? What is effectiveness? Of course, we could say that, okay, efficiency is basically doing things right or getting the most output from the least amount of input. And effectiveness, what we could say about it is doing the right things. You see on the play, you can hear the play of words. Doing the right things, like doing those activities or tasks that could help you reach your goals. However, efficiency and effectiveness are related. For instance, I'll give you an example of efficiency. You have a production line. You have 2 production lines. They are rated the same speed. Yeah? On line 1, you produced 1,000 cases in 1 hour with the same resource. Line 2, you produced 800 cases at the same speed with the same resources as line 1. In effect, we could say that, oh, line 1 is more efficient than line 2, if I'm correct, because they both had the same resources and they are running on the same speed. They have all the environmental elements are the same. However, line 1 was able to produce 200 cases more than line 2. So that's an example of an efficient line in relationship with two lines. Line one is efficient more than line two. So in contrast, if line one produces 1,000 cases, but has a reject of about 300 cases using the same resources, I want you to listen carefully to that. If line one produces 1,000 cases, but has a reject of 300 cases, but line two, in effect, produces the 800 cases with zero defects, we can say that line two is more effective. Line two is more effective. And you can see the relationship between efficiency and the process and effectiveness in the diagram in front of you, and how it relates to productivity. Well, they can both be linked to goal attainment, just like I have explained. An analogy between effectiveness, efficiency, and effectiveness. So you can see some of the elements of efficient and responsive operation. The primary goal of an efficient line is to produce maximally at a lower cost. The priority of a responsive line is to produce and respond to customers' demand. So that means the other one is consumer-centric. The product design strategy is minimum production cost. For the responsive is modularity to allow postponement. Okay, what do we mean by postponement? Let me just give you a simple example. Dell Computers has one of the best business model, and which other computer IT companies have copied in the past 5 years. What they do is they listen to their customer and they have an inventory. They are the first to allow or to give the customer the capacity to customize their products. Or let me give you a more simpler example. Postponement means, like, for instance, I want to buy a potato chip. I want to go home and buy a potato chip. I want to fry potato, French fries. Which one is more effective for me? Should I buy the yams and peel it, then dice it, or just go to the supermarket and buy the already diced, already processed? I will just put it in the oven and just boil it, or you fry it. So that aspect, that element of pre-processing of a product is called modularity to allow postponement. Also, the pricing strategy, which is not important, and these lower margins, higher margins, manufacturing strategies for efficient lines, high utilization, for responsive line, capacity, flexibility, that's ability for you to be able to change, do package or product change within the minimal time available. Yeah, inventory strategy, lead time strategy, supply selection strategy, all these are common elements on an efficient and a responsive operation. Still on efficiency and effectiveness, often worst performers are those who seem to be working the hardest and longest. They are very busy, but not necessarily effective. You can see the arrow and the dart analogy. Being efficient, you have 5 attempts, and 5 attempts in production or to our personal lives just to reach one goal is what we call muda, is a waste. And being effective, you hit the bullseye in 1 attempt. Procrastination. Procrastination is a very, very, very big time waster. I don't know whether to call it a psychological situation, or just a habit that is formed over the years. Procrastination is the, you can say, is the mental resistance you get whenever you attempt to perform a task. And also, you can say you're putting off the doing of something intentionally or habitually. Procrastination is a big problem that it's afflicting most of us. Most of us have not reached our full potentials mainly because of procrastination. If you suspect yourself doing this, you have to ask yourself, you have to reevaluate yourself, you have to go back to the success cycle, you have to see what is wrong, you have to see how you can manage yourself to get out of this. For me, I use mostly 2 ways to get out of procrastination. One, I use the 2-minute rule, which is anything that I need to do that doesn't take me more than 2 minutes, I don't wait. I get into action right away. Secondly, I use what is known as the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro technique helps a lot, especially when you are doing both short-term tasks or activity or long-term activities. Well, for Pomodoro technique, what you need to do is first, you select a task. Luckily, most of us use smartphones now. You can download the app if you have it on your iTunes or application store. You set the timer for 25 minutes and you get into the task vigorously. Mind you, you will still have some sort of distractions while you're performing this task. What you do in this case is you just write down these distractions and you get back into the task. You take a break for 5 minutes, then you get back into the task again. For those breaks for 5 minutes, for most of the time, what I do is, one, if I'm at the office, I could take a stroll. If I'm at the office, like if I'm in the factory, I could do a Gemba walk, just take a look around the operations and see what's happening. Or if I am at home, I could because I could paint, or I could just make small doodles or write something, or I could just stroll around. But for those of us that are still into social media that deep, you could use that 5 minutes to just, look at your little Facebooks, look at your Instagrams, your Twitter, your Snaps, and all that. So this is the cycle you repeat every time you work for 25 minutes, you take a break for 5 minutes. You work for 25 minutes, you take a break for 5 minutes, and you repeat this task for like 4 times. This eventually becomes a habit that you form, and it helps you get rid of procrastination. Like I said, procrastination is a world #1 time waster. You need to banish it from your life. There is no time like present to do any work. Common time management challenges is poor delegation. Sometimes we spend a lot of time on tasks that we could have given to our associates or our subordinates. We spend a lot of time doing, non-value adding activities just because of some myth, which we'll be getting into later in this webinar. Delegation does what? It saves time and develops your subordinates. It helps build their morale. It makes you successful, because as a human being, for you to be successful, you have to make people around you a success. It improves results by making fuller use of resources. There are lots of people around you, be it at home, be it at work. These people have potentials inside them dying to be found out, you sometimes when you delegate, you find out that most of your colleagues or associates even know more and they have more to offer. It implies transferring initiative and authority to others. Poor delegation, still on time management challenges, still. Delegation believe with a deep sense of value and limit of your time. If you value your time properly, if you know the worth of your time, you would be able to prioritize it. You will be able to use the Eisenhower matrix. You would be able to achieve your own goal by removing tasks which you need to set for later, which you need to delegate, which you need to perform at any other time. You can achieve more with your own time. Managers often complain that they are running out of time when their subordinates are running out of work. I'll tell you one thing. For a system that does not have visibility over their performance management, this is a huge problem for managers. I know a lot of colleagues, a lot of managers that have lost their jobs just by doing the other person's work or not having the capacity to delegate or hold people accountable, not letting people carry their monkey, as one of my old oga would say. And a lot of them lost their job because they don't know the technique, or whether they know the technique, I don't know. They don't have that discipline to get a grip of themselves, of their time, and to ensure that their associates and subordinates perform what they are there to do. Delegating the more routine or predictable part of one's job is only the first step. If you are performing a routine job, for instance, I need to send a report. I need to check an inventory. I need to, anything you need to do, and it's a routine job. You can delegate part of those jobs. I'm not saying you should relinquish all your roles, all your job to your associates, and hence delegation is not that you're abdicating your position. You must learn what to delegate and what not to delegate. First, you analyze what part of my task are repetitive tasks, what can I delegate. After making assessment of your team, you know their pedigree, then you delegate. Like we said, delegation does not mean you are abdicating your role. You must always follow up at all times. Some myths about delegation is risky. There's nothing risky about delegation if you do it properly. Some people, especially managers that are not familiar with systems, and I've seen this happen a lot. There's lots of managers that are not familiar with systems, and they are not willing to upskill. They relinquished sensitive information to their associates, like their passwords. They give them approval access just because they are either lazy or they just don't want to do it. So at this point, it could become risky because the responsibility is still your responsibility if anything goes wrong. Another myth is we enjoy doing things. That's no one enjoys doing a repetitive task. Repetitive task with time becomes boring. And when things start to become boring for you, it becomes sloppy. And when it becomes sloppy, you start making mistakes. Another myth is we don't sit and think. It's a slow process. There's nothing slow about delegations. Once you have identified people that are willing to move to the next level on your team, then you can delegate. You start with bits, of responsibility, then you move higher and higher at a time. Nobody can do it as well as I can. This I see all the time. I have learned over the years that there's nobody that is not dispensable in an organization, no matter how good you are. I have worked with the best of the best. I have seen them. I have seen them, how they move. I have seen what happened to them. The work will always go on with or without you. So the idea, the myth that nobody can do it as well as I can, so I cannot delegate, it's a total fallacy. You like to be on top of everything so that they can see you. Fine, it's good for you. On the long run, it doesn't pay well. But for those of us who have insecurity and we do not want to show our associates things, well, another good luck to us. This is another myth that I see all the time, because you don't want your associate to outdo me. If my associate outdoes me, that means I'm doing the right thing. So that means I'm doing something good for him to, like, oh, I can project him. So that means I can move to another level, because if he can do things better than I can, that means for the sake of the entire team, we all move ahead. That's a plus. So that means I can leave that position and that person, I can move up so that that person can move into my position. By and large, delegation is a great motivator. If applied properly, it enriches job, improves performance. I've seen this countless times. And most of all, it increases the morale of people. Common time management challenges are also meetings. We have talked about meetings in one of the slides. Meetings are especially, they are potential time wasters, especially they are necessary evils, of course, because without meeting, we can't measure, we can't measure some of our performances. We cannot, we cannot synchronize our energy together to achieve a common goal sometimes. However, they can be big time wasters, especially if you do not have agendas. You just schedule meetings. There is no pre-planned meetings. At least before you summon people for meetings, you have to give them like 24 to 48 hours ahead of time. Also, it distracts one from one's regular work. Oftentimes, you're trying to concentrate on something and you have to go for an impromptu meeting. Perhaps the outcome of that meeting isn't that good. So that could affect your morale, and it could also distract you from other value-adding and important things. Also try to learn and say no, try to say no to a meeting where you are not required. Once you're called for a meeting, you just assess the meeting. Okay, what's my contribution in this meeting? And I delegate it to someone else. And I ask someone else to do this meeting for me on my behalf, blah, blah, blah. You do that. Always learn to say no to a meeting where you are not required. Agendas should be definite. There must be a specific agenda. And everyone should receive the agenda and relevant documents in advance. Lastly, there must be a finish time for meeting. Meetings do and don'ts for administrators and participants. 1, you invite stakeholders only. For administrators, have a written agenda, like we said, circulate along supporting papers. Do not overpack the agenda. Make sure that all what you have written down in your agendas can be touched or executed within the time frame allocated for that meeting. You always stick to agenda and beware of hijackers. Hijackers are people that come to the meeting to advocate for other things that are not part of the meeting. For participants, we must always arrive prepared with facts and figures. What did you produce yesterday? You say, I'm in a meeting. It's not acceptable. What's your projection? Is you don't have anything to say. It's not acceptable. You must always focus on the points. Do not attempt to divert the discussion, and do not attempt to hijack the meeting. Now, to some monkey business. Like I said, back in the day, I have a boss. Still, my boss is a senior engineer who I revere so much. He always tells me, look, he says this in his dialect, Jaji, you must carry your monkey. Now your monkey be that, you must carry him, I basically what it means by monkey is, like monkey business can mean silly or roguish behavior. If you keep up this monkey business, you are going to have a detention extra too. No, but in this case, what it actually means is monkey is the responsibility. You must always carry your responsibility. And why some managers are typically running out of time, why the associates are running out of work, is because they pick up the monkeys of their associates. They enjoy it and they're good at it. They also try to do things efficiently, which are not worth doing in the first place. Remember what we said about working efficiently, or being efficient and being effective. This can be termed as the monkey on the back analogy. Monkey is the next task or activities or opportunity that comes to us. Well, why some monkey belongs to us, significant proportion belongs to our associates. The moment we pick up monkeys from our associate, they get the message that we want the monkey. Most of the time, yeah, like I said, I've known a lot of colleagues that lost their job because of this. Once we show our associate that we can execute this task better than they can, what they do is, since he can do it, let him do it, or her. So we find out that we inadvertently are taking their responsibility and putting it on our backs, and we should not be. So that is the point where we start having issues with performance, and we cannot manage our associate properly. And by allowing monkeys from our associates onto ourselves, we volunteer for two things. We are accepting responsibility for the tasks from them, one, and also we are assuming the position of the manager and would expect a progress report. What this means is that once we do this, they are no longer responsible for the outcome of such task, which in fact places the manager under additional pressure from the one he already has. In some cases, it is our colleagues that pass on their monkeys to us. Like, okay, this guy knows how to do PowerPoint slides properly. Or this guy is an expert on Excel. Or, he can write letters very well. Why don't I, learn always to say no. Some bosses also, they indulge in the act of passing their monkeys to associates. And at the end of the day, this snowballs into a vertically and horizontally leaping monkey. So that is the vertical ones from the top down, either from our associates or our superiors, or horizontally from our contemporaries or colleagues. Lastly, they consume our valuable and productive time with no time to work on our own monkeys. So we need to be careful. We mustn't accept other people's monkey. To recap this session, one, when feasible, we need to delegate. Second, do not allow tasks to pile up. So you must always free your time by not allowing tasks to pile up. Remember, we've talked about the priority matrix. We've talked about the Pomodoro techniques. We've talked about the 2-minute rule. We must always avoid procrastination. Like I said, procrastination is the mental resistance you get whenever you attempt to perform a task. And we must always identify it and get rid of it. We must always identify the value-adding task within our operations, our lives, and eliminate non-value activities. Lastly, part of time management is also taking the time off. We must always schedule time for relaxation. I'll leave you with one of the quotes of one of my favorite rappers called J. Cole. He says, "They say time is money, but really it's not. Because if we ever go broke, time is all we have got." Will thank you so much. On this note, I will transfer the mantle back to Engineer Lawal. If you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Georgie.
All right, Malam.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Georgie. Sorry, we are right then. WhatsApp adverts have voted the most efficient form of communication to our participants. What is surprising, however, is that email marketing is called second. Well, that's what is surprising. Usually, this poll shows that LinkedIn marketing comes in as a distant second. Thank you very much for this. There is one more poll similar to the first one. Okay, I have shared the results now. The results once again is showing that WhatsApp marketing is the number one avenue for reaching people, or at least that has been used to reach the people in this session today. And then LinkedIn, email marketing is a close second, just like the other results. Thank you very much, all of you, for participating in this poll. We appreciate your comments. We'll analyze them and use the results to further our business processes. Our next free webinar will be on September 12th, and it will be presented by a very good friend of the house, Kelechi Amamba. And the topic to be discussed is another topic that is close to our heart, and reliability. It is not medical science, it is not any of those, but it is a topic that is connected to every field of endeavor. So this one is similar to that. The topic will be effective personal energy management, a guide to exceptional performance. Personal energy here, energy management we're talking about here is your human energy, how you can manage your energy, just as we talked about how you can manage your time. So whatever kind of professional that you are, accountant, teacher, whatever, even a student, this topic will be very relevant to you. And Casey, I'm very sure will do great justice to it. Casey is the site lead or plant manager or plant director or whatever you want to call it, but he's the site lead of the company called Upfield in Nigeria. Very nice guy, and I pray that you guys work towards September 12th again. Our next paid webinar shall be delivered by my humble self, yours. The topic of that webinar will be analysis tools, but we'll be looking at FINIA and FINICA. FINIA and FINICA are one half of the RCM risk analysis tool. So for those of you in M&R or those of you in production operations, as long as you own some productive assets and you need to maintain them, you need to understand how you can create a maintenance system out of your asset by risk analysis. And during this time, we'll show you how we carry out FIMIA and FIMICA with a sample case study, and how the results of this can go further to guide the decisions that you will make about your assets, like in maintenance. So if you're a maintenance planner, for example, engineering manager, production manager, I expect that you will join this session. There's a lot to learn. How can you tell that the maintenance plan that you have and you're working with in the factory is correct? If I am an auditor and I come to your factory, this is one of the questions I will ask you. How can you tell that what you are working on is correct? You cannot tell unless you do risk analysis. And this is one tool that we can use to do this. There is only one question. Jaji, are you there? Okay, there are two more. Jaji, are you there to answer any questions?
Yeah, I'll take Yola's question.
Okay, please do.
Yola, you can only say no to a request from your associate if what they are requesting from you violates any of the policies relating to your task or activities, either safety, environment, or health, quality, anything that's going to impact your work negatively. You can say no. However, I know that is not easy, but you have to find a way around it. You can have a moral justification by explaining that. You can explain politely if it's someone ahead of you by telling them the implication of what the monkey they are trying to pass over to you is. I'm not saying that you should go outrightly and say no. You have to be intelligent in the way you deliver that response. I know how it is. I know how it is in the shop floor, and I know how things be. So just do that politely, as long as it does not affect the policy of the company. You can go ahead, but if it does, you have to politely decline. Malam.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jaji. Can you take one more question? This one is from Babatunde Jimo.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, this one is from Babatunde Jimo. Can you answer this? While delegation is important, how do we make the person that the job is being delegated to take responsibility so that delegation don't go bad, since well, I am sure it's buck. Since the buck stops at the manager's table, on your table as the manager.
As the delegator, it's a two-way thing. There's something in HR we call the psychological contract. The person you are trying to delegate the job to must see what is in it for him. And that's the goodwill that you're working on. By and large, whether you delegate the big or the small task, as long as it is your job, you are the one responsible for that task.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Malam, did I answer the question?
Very well.
All right.
Very well. Very well. In one of our previous webinars, let me add to this, Jaji. One of our previous webinars many weeks ago, probably months, I had the privilege of presenting that, and I talked about situational leadership and the situational leadership cycle from S1 to S4. S4 is the last segment, and that is where you delegate. Now, when you delegate, it by no means takes away the accountability part of it from you. It does not. It does not take away the accountability. The buck remains on your table. But by delegating, like Jaji has even said additionally today, you are preparing your people for the future. You are preparing your people for the future. So that essentially means that the persons that you delegate to will be somebody that you have already been working on his mindset, and he understands that you are preparing him for your position or for some other position higher than wherever he is now. So when the time for delegation comes, it is most likely that the person will be mentally ready to take the responsibility. And if for any reason you think he's not mentally ready, you shelve that delegation at that time. But whatever the case, there must be some kind of synergy. There must be an alignment between you and the person you are delegating to. Thank you very much, Jaji. There's one more question, and Gado would like to answer this. Gado, please answer. Hello, Gado. Hello, Gado. Well, he's not here. There's a question from, oops, that question has disappeared. Okay, the question is from Amarachi Uhegu, is that what is the Nigerian time for the next webinar? All our BCA Africa webinars are 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. That is 1400 hours, West African time, WAT, West African time, and that is GMT +1. All our webinar sessions are on Saturdays, and they are 2 p.m. West African time, 1400 hours, West African time, GMT +1. That is it. And then there's one more question. Are we going to have copies? Okay, yeah. Yes. And for all our webinars, after the webinars, within a space of 48 hours, all participants, all those who attended, not all those who registered, all those who attended shall get the presentation slides as you have seen today, the recorded video, and of course, any question and answer responses that we have for you. For today, we had very few questions and we have answered all of them. There shall be no Q&A PDF responses to be sent to all of you. Thank you. That's for question and answer session. Before I forget, this session, like all other free webinar sessions, a certificate will be available, but it is paid for a token of 2,000 Naira. So if you want a certificate for this free session, you will pay a token of 2,000 Naira. Our paid webinar sessions come with certificates, but depending on the cost of the paid session. If the paid session is 10,000 Naira, it does not come with certificate. You will have to pay for certificate additionally. And for that one, the price is a little different. And when the time comes like that, we will announce the price. Typically, it is 5,000 Naira for the certificate. But if the paid webinar is 20,000 Naira, then the certificate automatically is part of the fee. You pay 20,000 Naira and you get everything with the certificate. That is for our paid webinars. In addition, before we close, we still have openings for our balance of year and globally acceptable certification courses, CRE, from ASQ, CQE, that is Certified Quality Engineer. We still have openings for our Certified Maintenance and Reliability Professional, CMRP, and of course our CMRT sessions. If you are interested in any one of these, Certified Reliability Engineer, Certified Quality Engineer, CMRP, CMRT, please contact us via these details here. Sorry, please contact us via these details here. And numbers, all the numbers are on WhatsApp. You can reach them on WhatsApp, and all emails are available. All the email accounts are available anytime. So do us an email, and our business development people will catch up with you and continue the discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's session. I hope to meet all of you again September 12th, when Casey will take on his topic of managing personal energy. And then, of course, again on October the 3rd, when we will do our next paid session, to be hosted by myself. It is going to be hardcore maintenance and reliability. And tell your friends. See you on these dates. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you have joined us from today, and God bless you. Thank you very much. Drop your questions if you are still there. Thank you.